Welcome to the Tennessee Heart Health Network webinar. Our aim is to be your resource for innovative statewide initiatives to improve primary care for all Tennesseans. We hope that you enjoy today's educational program and share it with your colleagues to make a better impact of heart health in Tennessee.
Thank you so much, Gladys. It was so great to hear everyone's introductions and stories. A lot more in East Tennessee than I even realized, so that's great. I'm here in Memphis area where Gladys and Lori are, but I'm the Go Red for Women campaign director here in the Mid-South. So we cover Memphis, Shelby County, and most of West Tennessee. What I'm hoping to do today is kind of share updates with y'all about what AHA has been doing across the state. I did pull specifically information around Mid-South and Knoxville, which is the closest market to a lot of y'all East Tennesseans. So please feel free to ask me any questions. I just want y'all to know that what we're working on the back end beyond just the regular research and all of those things. As you know, it's Heart Month. So we've been very busy, but been really great things. Also, for anyone that does not know, this year is the 100th anniversary of American Heart Association. So we were founded in 1924 by 6 physicians back when heart disease was an immediate death sentence. They sent you home for bed rest, and that was your option. So I've learned a lot about the incredible things that's happened over the past 100 years. Some surgeries that have become very regular, going home same day, which is wonderful. Back in 1960 were complete game changers. So that being said, I'm going to share my screen. I know there's going to be a lot. I'm happy to share this with anyone else or dive into deeper detail, but I'm hoping that y'all take away just some things that AHA is doing and hopefully can be a resource for you, those of you who are survivors, and just community members as a whole. So I don't know if I'll be able to see the chat, but y'all feel free to post questions if you have any. Let's see. Can y'all see this okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So real quick, I just want to point out these lovely ladies, you'll see different ones through the presentation. They are real women for Go Red for Women this year. They're all across the country and they're all survivors and have incredible stories. So encourage you to look online at heart.org for those. They're really incredible. So, okay. The bad news that everyone on this call knows is that heart disease is the #1 killer of all humans, men, women. It's the #1. So I know we all know that. It's something I still include on everything. I think Gladys had said it, using your networks, your friends, your families. The first step is then being aware this is their #1 threat. Because at the end of the day, heart disease is around 80% preventable with healthy lifestyle. There, of course, is a portion that is genetic. So knowing that family history is so important. But that's why awareness and education is such a huge part of my job. And it goes a lot further than you think. So I wanted to echo that really quickly. Just to talk, I want to, like I said, focus on Tennessee. So we're broken down. We're based in Dallas, and so we're executed all across the country. But here in Tennessee, we have the Mid-South market where I am. We have West Tennessee. West Tennessee technically rolls up into us, but we have a counterpart in Jackson. Middle Tennessee, where our Nashville market is. Chattanooga has its own market, and then Knoxville covers the East Tennessee area. So I'm happy to connect you with anyone in those markets should you have questions and want to know more about your local area. Again, I'm going to share some of those details. All of our markets are absolutely fabulous. If you want to find us on socials at all, we actually are under a statewide page. So you'll see updates from all over the state. So yes, just wanted to kind of give you that update really quickly because everywhere's a little different. Memphis is going to have some different priorities in addition to similar priorities as Knoxville may have. One thing I actually didn't put in here that I want to plug for the East Tennessee folks that we're doing a higher priority on, and we have this here, in West Tennessee as well. Rural health is also a huge priority for us. Access to care, ambulances, being able to reach people who have, problems, access to medication, rural hospitals being shut down right and left. So that is a big priority I didn't include in here, but one is that we are focusing on, especially as we kick off our second century. Okay, so I'm going to focus on the Mid-South first for our Memphis people. So we have kind of made our own mission apart, underneath the AHA mission here in Memphis. So improving health outcomes across the Mid-South community by driving robust revenue and community impact campaigns. At the end of the day, we're looking to advance health equity, food deserts, safe places to exercise. The list goes on. And people deal with that issue all over the state. That's one we're tackling head on here in Memphis. So our focus area, we have 3 here in Memphis beyond, obviously these are kind of the top priorities. We're doing it all, but blood pressure, our numbers for Tennessee are horrible. Here in Memphis, about half the population has hypertension and a lot don't know about it. And so that's so important. We're working on a partnership with the libraries about, places people can get to, like community centers, to give people access to check their blood pressure. So one of our focus areas, we work with those HRSA funded community health centers like Christ Community. We're looking to improve those control rates up to 65%. And like I said, I can send this to people later. I won't have to dive too deep into that, but these are just some of the ways that we're working to do that. So collaborating with community partners, doing something we call screen, educate, and referral programs. We also do those around tobacco screening and nutrition security. So tobacco and vaping, just another thing we're working on. The list goes on. But and then, of course, that education around self-monitoring, diet, exercise, how they can control their blood pressure. So we do that in partnership with a lot of community partners here, like the libraries. Actually, fun fact, I don't know if any of y'all are Memphis Grizzlies fans. Hopefully you are. We're the only one in the state. But we actually, when we played the Warriors the other week, one of our local partnerships, they tried to break the Guinness World Record by amount of blood pressure checks at the forum. So things like that, getting creative. I know that people do that, in Nashville and Knoxville as well. So our focus area here in Memphis, number 2, food and nutrition security. As you can tell, 141,000 people are food insecure here in Shelby County. And I wish I remember the exact stat, but it is really, it's bad either way. But I believe it was for every 5, and we're talking about 100,000 people, so similar to this, for every 15 healthy food grocery options, I can't remember if it's either 60 or 80 fast food options per 100,000 people in Shelby County. Either way, those numbers are bad. I just can't recall exactly which one. So that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with here, is giving access to people. So how are we working on that? We're increasing capacity for, a lot of places to deliver food or distribute food besides the Mid-South Food Bank here. They don't have access to cold storage. It's really hard to offer fresh options without that. And so we've built a food pantry in the food desert where Lemoyne Owen College and HBCU is. We did that in partnership with Methodist, working with those food people who do this in our area to be able to offer more healthy foods, that sort of thing. So we're working on that here in Memphis. And then our third one, you've probably heard us talk a lot about this. It's been our theme, for lack of a better word, for our Heart Month, is we're trying to build a nation of lifesavers. CPR is so important. We want to have at least one person in every American household trained, ideally more, because that person could be the one needing it. But cardiac arrests happen more often than not in your own home. So for those who don't know, children as young as 9 can learn CPR. So encourage your families to learn it. Again, reach out to your local AHA chapter, because I go do demos all the time. You don't have to do mouth to mouth anymore. Hands only is effective, which people like, especially with bystander response. So something that someone can learn very easily. So that's a huge priority for us, not only here in Memphis, but across the country. And like I said, here's some more information on that. We have infant CPR kits we're working to give new moms to combat infant mortality. I just feel like I'm doing a training every other week to teach people how to do CPR, which I love. And we're also working to establish cardiac emergency response plans, making sure there's AEDs in accessible areas and that sort of thing. So I wanted to give y'all the upcoming events. We actually just had our Heart Ball this last weekend, which was super exciting. We actually were able to honor Fred Smith, founder of FedEx, at that event, and Heartball raised over $1 million this year. So we're very, very excited about the opportunities that gives us. Go Red for Women Luncheon. Sorry, I use that abbreviation. That is a bad habit of mine. That's internal lingo. That is my event. If any of you are local, Beverly Robertson, who's kind of a star in her own right, is my chair, and her team are leading us this year. So that event will be at Hilton Memphis on September 13th. And then our Mid-South Heart Walk, which everyone loves to come out to with their families, is we actually moved to the fall. So that's September 29th at Shelby Farms. So wanted to make sure everyone knows, happy to share more details about that. So want to move on to East Tennessee because it sounds like we actually have more East Tennessee people anyway. So I'm hoping this is helpful. I'm sorry I wasn't able to have a Knoxville person on, but thankfully they logged their stuff very well. So I took this from our internal stuff. So they actually have 4 areas they're working on. You'll see some repeats. Over 30% of adults in Knox County have been diagnosed with hypertension. I know East Tennessee as a whole, I don't have those numbers. I'm sure it is very similar, if not higher. So they are working with free clinics to establish loaner programs with the blood pressure cuffs, similar to what we're doing at the libraries, and then that education and referral programs with at-risk populations. Focus area number 2 for them is tobacco. It remains the single largest preventable cause of death and disease in the U.S. Students and kids, what's becoming a bigger issue, vaping is actually becoming a bigger problem over cigarettes now. We made progress in one area and then are having to deal with the other now. I believe the stat is 1 in 3 high schoolers vape and 1 in 6 middle schoolers, which is mind-blowing to me. So we're doing a lot of programming within the schools to try and combat that. Like mentioned here, they're working within the schools to teach the next generation about the dangers of these, providing support for those who choose to quit, and they help secure Tobacco 21 policy, ensuring quality lives for Knox County. Again, nutrition security, 1 in 8 people live in a food desert in Knox County. So they are dealing with similar issues as we are. And then 17% of children are food insecure in Knox County, which is heartbreaking. Very similar to us, they have placed 14 cold storage options in local food pantries and youth-based organizations for like those after-school programs. More than 5,700 people can now access nutritious fruits and vegetables each month, which is super exciting. And I will say all of these opportunities are because of very generous donors and sponsors who help us further these. So we're glad. Did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, all these resources that you're saying here in Memphis or in Knoxville, do you have a list of like where those, locations are, the 14 cold storage areas for local food bank? Do you have those listed
So
somewhere?
the market will, and I can connect you to the person there. They'll have that information. I have it for Memphis. And so yes, they will have those details through their community impact. And then their 4th focus area, again, you see that repeat CPR. They do mention here rural areas. County is located in the South with higher proportions of rural areas, Black and Hispanic residents, and lower medium household incomes all have lower rates of CPR training than other communities. So they are also providing hands-only demos, and they are also donating CPR kits that are impacting large groups of people. So here are those East Tennessee events. They also have their Heartball at the beginning of February, so that is past for this year. But see, I spelled out Go Red for Women here. Their luncheon is in April, on Thursday, April 25th, at the Pavilion. I'm not sure where that is, but I'm sure it's beautiful. And then the Knoxville Heart Walk is at Zoo Knoxville, Saturday, August 17th. So again, happy to connect anyone with the market there. There's sure a lot of smaller events that they host just like we do, so they can give you kind of that full insight. Those are just kind of our 3 pillars. And then just wanted to give y'all a look really quick into our new expanded Life's Essential 8. This is what we're sharing with patients, with just the general community, these ways that they can protect themselves as much as possible. None of these will surprise anyone, but eat better, be more active, quit tobacco and vaping. It used to be Life's Essential 7. We really understand that sleep is important. So we've added in sleep to make Life's Essential 8. Manage weight. And of course, all of these feed into weight. But, and then know your number. So your cholesterol, your blood sugar, your blood pressure, always being aware of those. So that's what we're really sharing. So yeah, I'm sorry. I know that was a lot of information. I hope that was interesting just to y'all to kind of know what we're doing in the community. And this, like I said, doesn't touch the work we're doing. There are millions and millions and millions of dollars granted in the state of Tennessee right now for research, all across the state. There's a ton at Vanderbilt. There's over 2 million granted here for projects here in Memphis. And of course, that is really cool to know that there's people in our state doing this boots on the ground research that will impact the entire world. So I have those numbers if anyone knows, wants to know them, but I'm happy to share that with anyone who may have questions or who want to get involved in any way. So love to answer any questions if anyone has any, and it's fine if you don't.
I can go ahead and go first just to kind of break the ice. But Kate, I think you and I have a lot of the same or similar priorities, especially with this new grant. I would love to talk to you, maybe later this week or next week. Because I think there's a lot of overlap, and I know I'm going to try to get the Memphis folks to do the walk with me September 29th. So we're going to start working on that. I think it'd be fun. And we're going to get not only my team at, my colleagues at work, but just, we're going to make it bigger event. So we need to work with whoever it is that's doing that. And then
yes, I'd be happy to connect you with Courtney, who is my counterpart on the walk. Yep. She's fabulous.
And then the Knoxville, hopefully by August, we'll have a few more people in the Knoxville area as well. So, okay. And I think you really hit on a lot of the things that our new grant it's going to be working on. You talked about the heart, but then you talked about all the this basically social determinants of health, all the things that go into our health. Our health is not just our bodies, it's all the things that come into it. The food, the food insecurity, all the other pieces. So that's something that we're going to be working, and I'm hoping that this group is going to help me kind of gather some resources so we can share with the physicians, we can share with the doctors and say, okay, if somebody comes in having a heart, but then they don't have money for medicine, here's a resource for medication. So I'm hoping that's going to be our biggest task for this next few years. So kind of falls right into what you were talking about. So anyway, that's all I have.
And I was talking with someone earlier today over at MATA, and he and I were chatting, and we joke that we almost have a harder job here in the South. It's trying to rewire our brains, especially when it comes to food, because we love unhealthy, delicious food. And it is a generational thing that has been passed down for delicious generations. And so that is something that, is kind of a unique problem that I think the South probably deals with a little bit more, is to try and prioritize that and make it, talk about things in moderation and things of that nature, but still giving people the access to those healthy options. One thing I try and do is I worked with a local chef before. She does demos for healthy soul food, which we laugh and say that's an oxymoron, but she makes it real good and it is healthier than your original. But things like that, just kind of rewiring our brains of all what we're used to. And then people having that access to care. I mean, that's so important and makes all the difference. People like Lori are great volunteers that help us make a big difference here.
Okay, Miss Kate, this is Miss Kate. You mentioned that you all go out and teaching CPR, right? And I know choking is a part of teaching CPR. I was I was looking somewhere once. I mean, not just lately. They have this new CPR thing that, like, if a person is choking, that you don't have to swipe their mouth. You put it over their mouth and draw it out or something. What's the name of that?
So I know what you're talking about because I've seen it on the internet. I don't know the name of it, but it looks very interesting. I feel like, especially if you live alone or you have kids, like that could be a really great option.
Right.
Of course, with CPR, you don't start that until they've stopped breathing.
Well, yeah.
And so I know with my demos, I usually don't touch on the choking. It's more
Oh,
just
you
the
don't.
action with after. That being said, we always connect people with great, like actual CPR trainers. If you want to take a class that you pay for, they cover everything. So, so yes, I also encourage the same person I was talking to earlier, his 12-year-old daughter who's interested in babysitting. And he was talking, and I said, well, I encourage them to take an actual class, a babysitting class that covers all of those things. Of course, CPR in children is different. So if you do have kids, grandkids who are interested in that, I encourage all to encourage them to go that route as well. Usually where we educate the most people is adults about adults, because I can teach a group of people how to do hands-only CPR in 2 minutes. And they can practice. The practice is the most important thing. I don't know, Lori can attest. Those dummies, people don't realize how hard you have to press down. They get very concerned. And so if you're not doing it correctly, you're not helping. And so just for the record, for people who don't know, if you're breaking a rib, you're doing it right. That is how hard you have to push down. Yes. So, but better broken rib than dead is what we say. And so think about it, that chest bone, you're having to compress that. You are the one pumping that blood into the heart. So that's why it's very important to call 911 first, because you're not going to be able to withstand the energy it takes to do that for terribly long. So you want help on the way. And so that's why I bring that dummy everywhere I go. It's in my car all the time practically, because I can tell you, but actually experiencing it is super important. And so I encourage all, even if you're trained, just to check up every now and again to just refresh that memory.
And you mentioned about a kit. They provide a kit for you. Is that the CPR kit?
Yes, you can purchase those on shopheart.org. I don't have one next to me. I'm so sorry. I'll show y'all what it looks like. I mean, it's just the dummy you can blow up and it clicks when you go down hard enough. They also make them for children and infants as well, if you need to learn that. But they're very affordable. And like I said, I have one and just carry it around with me everywhere. So as long, if you can even teach other people, I recommend just checking in with someone who is trained in that to make sure you're teaching people correctly. And then that could be a way y'all make an impact very easily.
Hi,
Go ahead.
this is Vanessa Cover. I guess I got a kind of question or something. I know all the various activities you talked about that are going to be happening with the American Heart Association. What they're going to be taking on. I guess what I have an observation.
Okay.
Here in the last year, I have had knowledge of at least 4 or 5 African American young ladies, and when I say that, they're in like their 40s, who have had heart attacks and died. And these are young ladies. And so I guess my question is, most of us are of age and we've gone through some things. Prevention wise, what can be done, or are there any plans to engage that African American population who does not understand that ounce of prevention is what the pound of cure? Because every time I'm talking to my daughter who is 44, I'm saying, baby, you got to rest, you got to do this, I'm trying to tell her all of these things. But there needs to be something where we're reaching out to these young people. They're under so much stress on these jobs. And so that they prayerfully never get to this point where we are. We need, these different things that they got going on. Is there a way for American Heart Association to connect to them?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Vanessa. And a few of the things you said hit the nail on the head of what I do every day, because my focus is usually around women and children specifically. All those things are so important, but we are multitaskers at heart, and stress makes all the difference. Like, women historically put themselves in the back burners. They will always put their families, their kids, and put their health first and put their health last. and that is what kills them young. And then women of color, especially, you see the data points,
Yes.
to your point, it's higher. And so
Yes.
a lot feeds into that, like Black mothers, the maternal health thing, that's something that we're working on. That hypertension that they experience more than white moms for some reason. But to your point, Vanessa, one thing that actually we're doing, I don't remember, forgive me if you said you were in Memphis, but if you know Andre
Yes.
Dean of Dean and Associates, he actually hosts an event in collaboration with us that's on the first Friday of February that is focused around African American women health and heart health. It's called Heart Soul. And we bring everyone to the Halloran Center. They get to hear that education and awareness. It is a fun event as well, but that is something that we're doing to really raise awareness there. Also, we do a lot. I know we do this a lot across the country, but I know we have a lot of success with historically African American churches. Is faith-based opportunities. I think someone mentioned, I don't know if it was you, about that they were their church liaison, their health liaison. We work with those people all the time, and we do that. When it boils down to it, people need to get their information from a source they trust, and especially in communities of color. And I'm working on that in the Hispanic community right now in Memphis. It takes time to build that, and then the faith-based communities, people trust those resources, and so we really are working with especially the large churches. One of my Women of Impact, Marvia Coleman, just did a beautiful, fun fashion show at Mississippi Boulevard Church and raised a ton of awareness that way. So I think, to answer your question, it's multi-pronged. There's a lot of work that comes into it on different sides. There's the education, the awareness, the events that are focused to that. We do a lot of communication campaigns around that in February, specifically for Black History Month. We also do a lot with corporate. You mentioned your job, like, and I know not everyone works, but those young people especially, jobs are probably the highest stressor, and people spend most
Yes.
of their times at their jobs. And again, I've talked about all this today. It's really strange. I was talking to someone earlier today, and they were like, our employees' health is so important to us. We wanted them to know that we care. And so we do a lot, like I know Courtney with our Heart Walk, that is such a huge employee kind of engagement opportunity there. They come out to the walk, but they do, like, we have resources. We have so many free resources we can give. We give HR teams. We give them national recognition for what's called Wellbeing Works Better, for things they're already doing or that they implement. We want to highlight them, to encourage them, like, hey, from a selfish standpoint, healthy workers are happier, they're more productive, but also just from a human side, you want people to live longer and be happy. And
Right.
so, and a lot of that stems from the employer, try not to stress your workers out to the point of this, because they have personal lives.
Well, I
And
mean, they really don't care. I was kind of thinking, because I know I participated in the sickle cell walk, and I've
yep,
gone to the classic games and stuff like that. And I was kind of thinking, they might welcome a partnership, because you got the masses of us at those events. And so they're opening up to various entities come out. And so that may be a way for the American Heart Institute to work with groups that are already pulling the population that you need to
absolutely.
attract.
That's a great
So
idea.
the
That's a great
classics
idea.
and the walks and stuff that we do for sickle cell, and I'm sure they would probably welcome the American Heart Association, recognizing what's really going on.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a great, and we have volunteers I know that work heavily in those areas. And so I can connect with them on that. One other thing I forgot to mention too, Vanessa, was we have a Women of Impact campaign. Lori may have mentioned it before. She was one of our Women of Impact last year. And
Mhm.
so that is a way for local women to spread awareness to their networks. And so I
Mhm.
feel like we get a lot of people that we may not just get through a normal education effort,
Right.
or one that's not as regular. So they're going to see, we have different things a week, like maternal health, mental health, exercise. So they're sharing kind of curated things with their networks that is going to reach a lot of people, even outside our area. So I'm excited about the potential that also holds to reach different age groups. And actually here, since we were talking about women of color, most of our women of impact reflect our population, which is over 50% African American. So I'm very proud of that. And I think that that is going to be helping to reach those networks a little better.
Okay, thank you. Those are some ideas and some suggestions.
Yes, that's great. I can't wait to talk with that about our team about that a little more. One volunteer actually stands out. She did her thesis on sickle cell in African American men. So I'm definitely going to bring that up to her.
Yeah, 'cause, I know a lot of entities have their booths set up there, when I'm there, and same thing with the classic. There are a lot of people, you have
Yep,
access to a lot of us there,
absolutely.
Okay.
Hey, the question I had was real quick, and you may be able to, what if like anybody in the group wants to bring you or somebody else from the Heart Association to their church to do a CPR? I was thinking it's CPR, but then maybe is that possible to
Definitely reach out and ask. It doesn't, so we are a small but mighty team. So weekend events can be tough. Now, that being said, we can always meet them during the week if necessary and have it be volunteer led. So we teach them what they need to know, give them the resources they need to share with their church or community group. I try to make as many as I can. I have an event at Broad Baptist on Saturday. I do
That's
my
my
very best.
church.
Is it? Yes. Well,
Yes.
it's actually so one of the AKA chapters will be meeting there, and so I'll be going up there for that. But oh my gosh, Keith Norman is one
Yes.
of our board
That's my
members. Yes,
pastor.
or old board members. So they're very involved.
Yes.
But yeah, so like I said, I've got that on my calendar for this Saturday, but it's just a hit or miss on terms of that. But please reach out and we can make it happen, even if we need to be creative. Building our network of volunteers is the ultimate goal, so they can then teach others where we can't be at everything. So, so yes, I would say please ask and we'll do our best.
I just have a quick comment. So the Heart Walk is a really fun thing to do, and Gladys, I'll certainly be there. I've been doing it ever since I hooked up with Kate 5 years ago. But it's just a fun way, and it's for men, women, children. I mean, it's everyone. And it's just such a refreshing, energizing to be around all the people that are supporting the same thing. And it's like that power of red brings you empowerment too. And I just encourage anyone, and like, you don't have to do the whole 5K or whatever it is. They have a little mile fun walk, and it's free. All it takes is your time. And, they have a lot of different little booths and stuff. And it's just really a nice, refreshing, empowering thing to do. It makes you feel good when you're done.
And we have those in all of our markets as well. So,
my name is Joyce Brown. I was on your on the American Heart Association website, and I saw some things, different types of volunteer things that you could do, and I saw something about cooking classes and stuff like that, but I wasn't ready for that. But I wanted to know if there are some things that I could do here in Memphis, because I like to volunteer and I like to do things that will help my community once I learn it. And so I was wondering if I could, maybe volunteer with someone else, or something that I could do around town here.
absolutely. I mean, and we can always come up with something specific based on a community need. Like the CPR is an easy one to implement. You mentioned cooking classes, cooking demos, things like that. We've hosted events at community centers where they teach low sodium recipes to really help with that blood pressure. We have, I'm trying to think, we, of course, we have volunteers for those major events that I mentioned. There's also other events like if you are involved, if you are a woman involved in the STEM fields at all, the science, technology, engineering, and math, that's something that an event we host in May under my campaign that
Okay.
we bring 8th grade girls into the University of Memphis to show them the opportunities that come with a STEM career. So, I mean, there's even those smaller, events like that we always
Okay.
need volunteers for. But I would say what we're trying to do is build a database of volunteers, and that includes survivors. We're always looking for people to share their stories, whether, it's something small or something big. Lori walks in our survivor fashion show at the luncheon every year. We always need people to tell their stories because that goes a long way. And so we're trying to build that database. So I would say, Joyce, just, letting us know is the first step. And then if you have something specific in mind, let us help you craft that because we have all these resources. The data has been done, the research is there. And we can pull ideas from other markets. So yes, I would say, I mean, we could even coordinate a food drive, whatever you think the necessity is at that time. I know that's not super specific, but I would say that the world is our oyster with that. And we always welcome new volunteers and that don't have to just center around those main events.
Okay, I think I put my information in for a volunteer, but I wasn't really specific, but I was reading about some of the things that they do, but I
Yes.
think I did leave my information there, but I'm still, still open and available. So I'll just let you know. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joyce.
Yeah, and Kate, I have Joyce's information. Remember, I talked to you about her and told
Yes.
you that she gave it to me at the Heart Rock Paint. So I have that too, if you would like it too.
That'd be great.
Can you expand a little bit on you were talking about you have high blood pressure, events. Can you expand a little bit? I mean, here in Memphis and in, East Tennessee, what kind of things do you do? Where do you go? How do you,
Yeah.
expand?
So a lot of those are sponsor driven. And so that's why sometimes they'll happen at random times. One thing that we prioritize is sustainable action. So we always love to have those opportunities be lasting. And that's really where, I think it was mentioned in the Knoxville page. I know Nashville's doing it as well. They're working with the local libraries where people can check out a blood pressure cuff to take home if they want to. And so they have these opportunities for people to take them home with a log to monitor, and then they return it. So they can, so I know that Knoxville is doing it that way. We're currently in conversations with the library. We're working on funding right now, but especially when it comes to access to people who may not have transportation, there's usually a library or community center in their neighborhood somewhere that's a little bit easier to get to. So we pitched that idea to the Library Foundation, and we're looking at something a little more permanent to hopefully address more of the population. We're hoping to implement tabletop blood pressure cuffs in these libraries, so anyone who comes in can then go over and take it in the moment, similar to what you see at CVS, what have you, but having those in the library. We're also even exploring the idea because then, okay, say they have high blood pressure, then what's next? What if they don't have a physician? What if they can't get to a physician? Because what's those next steps? We're exploring the opportunity. What if they can then go straight to the computer in the library and have access to a teledoc appointment where they can then have next steps in place? So we'll also have resources for options in person. So that's something Beverly is working on right now. We're trying to implement on a large scale here in Memphis. But we have regular ones all the time. We go to health fairs. I mentioned the Grizzlies game. We go, to churches and things like that. We did the senior fair at the main branch of the Memphis Library where we reached, I don't even know how many people. We do blood pressure checks at the expo at our luncheon. Honestly, that and CPR are two of our favorites to implement at places because they're easy to really put on. Granted, I can't give blood pressure. I've got to bring an RN or someone who's qualified, but I can teach CPR. But so there's a little bit of an extra step with that. But I mean, we've done it probably, if you can imagine, anywhere. And so that's what's really cool about that, because it is such a huge problem here in Memphis we're trying to tackle, we can come to people in that capacity. So yes, I know that I need to dig a little more to know what else they're doing in East Tennessee, but I know it's a priority across the country. So I've heard them have a lot of success in Nashville with that rental cuff opportunity. That was just not the preference for our local area. So I hope that it helps to answer the question, Gladys.
Yes, it does. Thank you. The other thing I was going to ask you, you mentioned the Heart Soul event at the first. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how can we get connected? Because maybe that's an event that we can do as a group, participate in next year.
Absolutely. So the first Friday in February nationally is National Wear Red Day. So that's when we blanket the city in red. It's a huge awareness day. You'll probably have seen that every year. So Andre Dean, we host that the first Friday in February that evening. So I know he committed already to next year. So we'll have our third annual event. They sell tickets to that. I think tickets are usually $100. The money goes to AHA. He puts on the event. It just goes through him. And they write us a check at the end of it. And once I know, that's as much as I know right now. We are getting together in the next couple weeks for this year's recap since it just happened. But it's fabulous. It is a beautiful, beautiful event and a lot of fun, but also educational.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We hope that you've enjoyed today's webinar. For more information and resources, please visit our website, tnhearthealth.org. You can find more webinars under our resources page. You can also follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Please let us know if there are any specific topics or speakers that you would like us to present. Lastly, tell anyone you know who would be interested in helping to decrease the burden of cardiovascular diseases in Tennessee and share the webinar. Together we can achieve our goals of managing and preventing heart attacks and strokes for Tennesseans.